Hey guys, Geeky Rocket here, and this will be a workbench update on the Nashorn group build that I am partaking in. Again, thank you to Alexander Richard Marshalls for hosting this group build. It is a very interesting subject, and I know a few of you guys in the YouTube community are now partaking in it. So good on you guys. As you can see, I'm not very far into the build, of course, but I know Panzermeister 36 and Alex himself are way further than me. So kudos to you guys for getting your build on. But you know me, I always build slow, very meticulous with my builds. Not saying that you guys aren't meticulous, of course, but with the amount of time that I have, it does take a while to I guess accumulate output or significant output. Anyways, I digress. This update will cover the completed build of the lower hull and the bottom part of the superstructure, as you guys can see. I'll go through some of the issues in regards to the instructions. What a big surprise! It's Dragon instructions. Yeah, as the build stands, I am very happy with how it looks so far. I mean, it's got immense detail so far, and it builds up very nicely. Can't applaud Dragon enough for their kit engineering. But when it comes to the instructions, of course, they drop the ball. So one of the major, I guess the hardest part about the build thus far, I would say, is trying to mount this shield for on top of the roof of the where the transmission would be housed and the driver would sit. This shield, I'm not exactly 100% sure what it is. It looks like some sort of shield, minor shield. But that actually, no word of a lie, probably took me just over an hour to shape and glue into place. I mean, it fought me every step of the way, but I was determined to get it shaped nicely and get her on there. And afterwards, I mean, it looks pretty damn cool. What else? Oh, another issue. Going back to, of course, the instructions. The first, it's not a mistake per se, but an issue that you may run into. And again, I'm doing the initial modified version. The kit that I picked out for this group build, it's a 3-in-1. It comes with the initial modified, early variant, and initial variant. So 3 variants, and I chose the initial modified. And because of that, I have 2 guards for 2 separate track lengths for added armor on the bottom here, as you can see. The only issue that you may come across is because this is the only variant that has that second track bar is the initial modified. There is no slot that it sits in on parts E26 and E25, as you can see in the instructions. So please, if you do this version, do your homework. Find some reference photos as to where it should properly sit in relationship to the height of the front glacis plate, and then commit to gluing. Just because there is no actual slot. There's a slot for the first one, but not the second one, so that's just something to keep an eye out for. The next issue / mistake that Dragon kind of includes into their instructions, it's always a surprise. Well, not always a surprise. As long as you guys stay vigilant, you guys should be okay. But when it comes to deciding between your initial modified and earlier variant roof plates that'll cover the driver's hatch as well as the transmission, is there's no part numbers included for, oops, sorry, for the hatch mounts. So these two hatch mounts in front, where your vision port will pivot, as well as these hatch mounts for the circular hatches pivot, there's no part number, nor does it say, hey, glue that there. So basically what it does is it shows it that it's there already, as you can see right here and here, but I had to go back to the sprue map and find out where the parts were on the sprues, and then I jotted in what part numbers they actually were. So again, that's something else that you have to look for. To me, that looks like it should be molded in place, but it's not. They are separate parts, so that's another thing you have to keep or be mindful of. One of the last major issue that I came upon is when doing the fenders. As you can see here, the antenna mount is not secured to the fender itself. It is actually attached to the lower hull area, or where the hull starts to incline, and you can actually reference that on your box art. As you can see here, it is not attached to the fender, but the instructions call that it is literally attached right beside the wood block on the fender itself. Do not do that, even after looking at the box art and other reference photos to be sure, or make sure that it is indeed like that. Don't follow the instructions in that regard. All the reference photos that I came upon, the antenna mount was actually attached to the hull, not the fender. So that is another thing to keep in mind. But other than that, the instructions were pretty flawless. That's only 3 mistakes in 6 steps. So in in Dragon's regards, that's actually not that bad. But overall, I'm very pleased with the detail. Give you guys a closer look. There are a few seams that need to be filled where the parts didn't marry 100%, but that's not a big deal. It's very, very minimal. A few seams here in the firing compartment itself, as well as on the exhaust manifold, or the exhaust muffler. As you can, focus. There we go. As you can see there, just minor touch-ups, and as well as on the steps. Again, a few seams. Well, not seams, but areas where the part actually didn't fill the hole, or where it's supposed to sit in nicely. I do it just because it kind of looks ugly with a little gap where the part is still sitting in. So I just fill it up with some putty, so it's not too much of a big deal. Again, as you see it now, I do still have to sand it. So as for that, I can't really complain. I mean, it's great. The only ejector pin marks or sink marks are the 3 in the back here. But again, that is pretty easy to fill as well, and there will be a storage box kind of sitting in place where you can't really view it. I think you may only be able to see the top one, but I just filled all 3 of them just to make sure. One interesting note that I kind of came upon while gluing these tracks is that I use Gator glue, the acrylic hobby glue. And what this does, instead of using Tamiya liquid cement, whereby it would be rigid after the glue hardens, this kind of keeps the tracks flexible. I know in this case, because it's track armor, it doesn't need to be flexible. But when doing the tracks for the vehicle itself, and this can be applied to really any vehicle, it'll keep your tracks flexible longer than Tamiya liquid cement, giving you a lot more time to kind of fit them in place and then remove them afterwards. You don't really have to fight your tracks in that way. So that was an interesting thing that I kind of came across while building. I learned that tip from Flory Models. I believe he's a UK builder. He's got actually really outstanding tips when it comes to aircraft kits and armor kits. But as for that, I believe that covers what I wanted to talk about in this update. The next part will be the building of the gun, as well as the gun carriage and the fighting compartment. So I'll probably give you guys another update once that is complete. And before I glue the gun in place, I want to start on the figures, just so I can have the figures placed roughly where I want them, as I will have this tank being restocked for ammo. So before I commit to gluing the gun in place or and whatnot, I wanna get everything kind of mocked up and see how the space, see if I'll have any space issues, and go from there. So can't recommend this kit enough. I would recommend this kit, so far, even though I'm only 6 steps into the intermediate or advanced, just because there is a lot of small parts, a few mistakes in the instructions, and the photo etch is a little finicky. But other than that, it's great. Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention. These small, tiny little parts are supposed to sit in the gun traveling lock mount, and I'll point to that right here. They're literally supposed to sit in place in here, but again, there's no mounting pins for them to actually sit into, and they have little nibs on them. And from what I hear on from other websites, and even looking at the instructions, is that those nibs actually sit in the gun traveling lock itself. So I'm gonna wait until I believe it's step 17, which is the last step, to actually glue these in place, just in case if I place them now, it may not marry up right to or marry up properly to the gun traveling lock itself. So I've decided to leave those off for now, and those parts are tiny as hell, so that's why I've kept them in a jar so I don't lose them. But that now covers the entire update. So thanks guys for watching. Continue to subscribe, and I can't thank you guys enough for supporting my channel. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers.